Hello, welcome to the Southern Bible Thumper channel. For this upload, we are going to be reading 1 Samuel 25, but the first part of reading may take closer to 8 minutes. This chapter is 44 verses long. And Samuel died, and all the Israelites were gathered together and lamented him and buried him in his house at Ramah. And David arose and went down to the wilderness of Paran. And there was a man in Maon whose possessions were in Carmel, and the man was very great. And he had 3,000 sheep and 1,000 goats, and he was shearing his sheep in Carmel. Now the name of the man was Nabal, and the name of his wife Abigail. And she was a woman of good understanding and of a beautiful countenance. But the man was churlish and evil in his doings, and he was of the house of Caleb. And David heard in the wilderness that Nabal did shear his sheep. And David sent out 10 young men, and David said unto the young men, Get you up to Carmel, and go to Nabal, and greet him in my name. And thus shall ye say to him that liveth in prosperity, Peace be both to thee, and peace be to thine house, and peace be unto all that thou hast. And now I have heard that thou hast shearers. Now thy shepherds which were with us, we hurt them not, neither was there aught missing unto them, all the while they were in Carmel. Ask thy young men, and they will shew thee. Wherefore let the young men find favor in thine eyes, for we come in a good day. Give, I pray thee, whatsoever cometh to thine hand unto thy servants, and to thy son David. And when David's young men came, they spake to Nabal according to all those words in the name of David, and ceased. And Nabal answered David's servants, and said, Who is David, and who is the son of Jesse? There be many servants nowadays that break away every man from his master. Shall I then take my bread and my water and my flesh that I have killed from my shearers, and give it unto men whom I know not whence they be? So David's young men turned their way and went again, and came and told him all those sayings. And David said unto his men, Gird ye on every man his sword. And they girded on every man his sword, and David also girded on his sword. And there went up after David about 400 men, and 200 abode by the stuff. But one of the young men told Abigail, Nabal's wife, saying, Behold, David sent messengers out of the wilderness to salute our master, and he railed on them. But the men were very good unto us, and we were not hurt, neither missed we anything, as long as we were conversant with them when we were in the fields. They were a wall unto us both by night and day, all the while we were with them keeping the sheep. Now therefore know and consider what thou wilt do, for evil is determined against our master and against all his household, for he is such a son of Belial that a man could not speak to him. Then Abigail made haste and took 200 loaves and 2 bottles of wine, and 5 sheep ready dressed, and 5 measures of parched corn, and 100 clusters of raisins, and 200 cakes of figs, and laid them on asses. And she said unto her servants, Go on before me, behold, I come after you. But she told not her husband Nabal. And it was so, as she rode on the ass, that she came down by the covert on the hill. And behold, David and his men came down against her, and she met them. Now David had said, Surely in vain have I kept all that this fellow hath in the wilderness, so that nothing was missed of all that pertained unto him, and he hath requited me evil for good. So and more also do God unto the enemies of David, if I leave of all that pertain to him by the morning light any that pisseth against the wall. And when Abigail saw David, she hasted and lighted off the ass, and fell before David on her face, and bowed herself to the ground, and fell at his feet, and said, Upon me, my lord, upon me let this iniquity be, and let thine handmaid, I pray thee, speak in thine audience, and hear the words of thine handmaid. Let not my lord, I pray thee, regard this man of Belial, even Nabal, for as his name is, so is he. Nabal is his name, and folly is with him. But I, thine handmaid, saw not the young men of my lord, whom thou didst send. Now therefore, my lord, as the Lord liveth, and as thy soul liveth, seeing the Lord hath withholden thee from coming to shed blood, and from avenging thyself with thine own hand, now let thine enemies, and they that seek evil to my lord, be as Nabal. And now this blessing which thine handmaid hath bought unto my lord, let it even be given unto the young men that follow my lord. I pray thee, forgive the trespass of thine handmaid, for the Lord will certainly make my lord a sure house, because my lord fighteth the battles of the Lord, and evil hath not been found in thee all thy days. Yet a man is risen to pursue thee, and to seek thy soul, but the soul of my lord shall be bound in the bundle of life with the Lord thy God. and the souls of thine enemies, them shall he sling out, as out of the middle of a sling. And it shall come to pass, when the Lord shall have done to my Lord according to all the good that he hath spoken concerning thee, and shall have appointed thee ruler over Israel, that this shall be no grief unto thee, nor offensive heart unto my Lord, either that thou hast shed blood causeless, or that my Lord hath avenged himself. But when the Lord shall have dealt well with my Lord, then remember thine handmaid. And David said to Abigail, Blessed be the Lord God of Israel, which sent thee this day to meet me. And blessed be thy advice, and blessed be thou, which hast kept me this day from coming to shed blood, and from avenging myself with mine own hand. For in very deed, as the Lord God of Israel liveth, which hath kept me back from hurting thee, except thou hadst hasted and come to meet me, surely there had not been left unto Nabal by the morning light any that pisseth against the wall. So David received of her hand that which she had brought him, and said unto her, Go up in peace to thine house. See, I have hearkened to thy voice, and have accepted thy person. And Abigail came to Nabal, and behold, he held a feast in his house, like the feast of a king. And Nabal's heart was merry within him, for he was very drunken. Wherefore she told him nothing, less or more, until the morning light. But it came to pass in the morning, when the wine was gone out of Nabal, and his wife had told him these things, that his heart died within him, and he became as a stone. And it came to pass about 10 days after, that the Lord smote Nabal, that he died. And when David heard that Nabal was dead, he said, Blessed be the Lord, that hath pleaded the cause of my reproach from the hand of Nabal, and hath kept his servant from evil. For the Lord hath returned the wickedness of Nabal upon his own head. And David sent and communed with Abigail, to take her to him to wife. And when the servants of David were come to Abigail to Carmel, they spake unto her, saying, David sent us unto thee, to take thee to him to wife. And she arose, and bowed herself on her face to the earth, and said, Behold, let thine handmaid be a servant to wash the feet of the servants of my Lord. And Abigail hasted, and arose, and rode upon an ass with 5 damsels of hers that went after her. And she went after the messengers of David, and became his wife. David also took Ahinoam of Jezreel, and they were also both of them his wives. But Saul had given Michal his daughter, David's wife, to Phalti, the son of Laish, which was of Galium. 1 Samuel 24. King Saul goes into the same cave that David is in. David confronts Saul after cutting fabric from his garment to show he was close enough to harm Saul. Our current chapter, 1 Samuel 25. David and his men protect Nabal's servants. Nabal is a very wealthy man. David's messengers politely ask for anything that Nabal can spare, and he is very rude. Abigail, Nabal's kind-hearted wife, brings food to David and his men as they prepare to slaughter Nabal's household. Okay, summarizing 1 Samuel 25 in a bit more detail. So in verse 1, Samuel, the judge and prophet, dies. Israel mourns him, buries him, and then David sees a rich man, and he was shearing his sheep. The man's name is Nabal. His wife is Abigail. And it says Abigail was a sensible and beautiful woman. And I just wanted to just look at this a little bit more, because the King James, it says she had a beautiful countenance, a woman of good understanding, beautiful countenance. So countenance usually refers to the attitude of a person, not exactly their appearance, but it says their, mental composure, expression. It is in the face, but it isn't necessarily beauty. It's just a pleasant disposition, pleasant attitude. The reason why it just made me look at it is because this is verse 3. It says here she was a woman of good understanding and beautiful appearance, which, just quickly, when we look at 1 Samuel 9, talking about 9 verse 2, talking about Saul, the Bible just says Saul is handsome. 1 Samuel 16 verse 12, David is handsome. Genesis 24, Rebecca was very fair to look upon. Genesis 29, Rachel was beautiful and well favored. And Genesis 12, Sarah was very beautiful. So just looking at those and then looking at this, it's like, okay, so she might not have been beautiful, but she had a beautiful attitude. Okay, verse verse 4 through 9. David heard Nabal was there and sent messengers to remind them that David treated Nabal's servants kindly. David makes requests that Nabal give him anything that he can. Verses 10 through 11. Oh, I want to review that a little bit more too. So he sends a very kind greeting, and he says, will you be kind to us? We've come at a time of celebration. In the King James Version, it says, we've come in a good day. What verse is this? This is verse 8. So when we look at verse 8 here, a day for a feast. So this is the interlinear uh, English to Hebrew translation. This is the closest that we have to the original form. So it says here, we've come on a feast day. When we look at the other versions, we've come on a feast day, at a festive time, festive day, feast day, time of celebration, feast day. So the King James Version is the only one that uses the term good day, which it could be interpreted as we've come on a good day to ask you for something, which is true. But this is why I like to just read the translations together, because you'll see how the message changes slightly. Because if you just read it plain, we've come in a good day, we want something, whatever cometh to thine hand, whatever you can you give us something on this good day? You see how that's a little bit different, because anything could be money, food, and on top of that, that is a little bit it's unclear. If I were to get this message, we've come today on a good day, can you give me anything that you can? That's very different than we've come on this feast day. Do you have provision? Please, whatever come to your hand, your servants, your son. So even just saying the word feast would help make that clearer, that, okay, so we've come on a day where you've had food. Can you give us some food? That makes more sense. So, okay. So he's saying, we've come during this time. Can you give us some food? Verses 10 and 11. Nabal is not a very nice man. He says, who is this fellow? There are lots of servants who run away from their masters. Should I take what I have and give it to them? So David's young men returned and told him what Nabal said, and David said, okay, let's get our swords. 400 of us. 200 can stay behind and watch the stuff. Sensing that this might not be a good way to talk to David, one of Nabal's servants told his good-hearted, good-natured wife Abigail about what's going on. These men have been good to us. You need to know this. Nobody can talk to Nabal. Verse 18, Abigail prepared food and told her servants, go ahead of me, I'll follow you, but she didn't tell her husband. So, verse 20 through 22, she meets David with the things that she's prepared as she's traveling to go to him. She meets him before he can get to where her house is. Verse 21 through 22, David starts saying, I treated this man well and he repaid me with evil. May God punish me if I leave any male alive in his household. So the part where he's saying, any that pisseth against the wall, any that pisseth, Okay, this is referring to the men. So he's like, I'm so angry, may God kill me if I leave any man alive. David must have been pretty hangry. I've said before, a lot of problems can be solved with a snack and a nap. Because you're not you when you're hangry. David was not him. He's running for his life. His father in law is trying to murder him, and he's just really hungry. Okay, great. Verse 23 through 31, Abigail falls on her face and she gives this monologue, somewhat of a prophecy, and she apologizes. She tells David to please disregard Nabal. She was unaware that his servants came there. Please blame her for Nabal's response and accept this blessing. Please, when you become king of Israel, don't hold this against us. Verses 32 through 35, David says, "Thank you. This gesture saved your household from me slaughtering everyone within. I will accept this food. Peace be with you." Verse 36, Nabal was having a feast when Abigail returned, and he was drunk. So, verse 37, when Nabal was sober, his wife told him what happened. And, the King James that we read, it said his heart died within him. That's not what it said here. What verse is that? 37. But it came to pass in the morning when the wine was gone and his wife told him his thing, his heart died with him. Okay, it is. And see, these are two different versions. This is the Living Bible, the Young's Literal. And so with these other translations, as you can see, you see how much shorter that one is, and how much longer that one is. It just pays to read multiple translations because it is easy to miss something and you just get a fuller picture with multiple translations. So, okay, whatever happened when she told him, his heart died, and then he actually passed away in verse 38. Verse 39 through 44, David rejoiced and married Abigail. He sent his servants to ask her to marry him, and she brought 5 women along. And David also married another woman named Ahinoam. So he had 2 wives now. And at the end, it lets us know that Saul had given Michal, which was David's wife, the one who he got 200 Philistine foreskins for. King Saul gave her to another man to marry. So that's what we have for 1 Samuel 25. Thank you for clicking on the video. I love you. Have a wonderful day.